You're listening to Catholic Chicago. Ahead, the Archdiocese of Chicago brings you programs about the people, events, and issues that touch our lives. Welcome to Catholic Chicago.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our program here on this bright, chilly Monday morning here in Chicago on, what is today's date? Today is October 17th, so thanks for listening or watching here. We are doing live streaming, and this also repeats itself on YouTube, which is pretty cool. So here we are on this bright Monday morning here in Chicago talking about some of the topics of concern to the Catholic Conference, who represent our mission is to represent the bishops down at the state capitol in Springfield. And we have basically two broad topics here we're going to talk about and kind of drill down on some specifics. The first topic we're going to discuss briefly is the scholarship tax credit. It's been around for a while, as most people know who watch or observe these things. The program is a pilot program, 5-year pilot program, and it is up for renewal this year. So we will be in Springfield advocating that program continue, hopefully forever, making it permanent. It would really help the perception of the stability of the program for donors and for recipients alike. And interestingly enough, we actually have a hearing on that issue tomorrow here in Chicago. So we hope and pray that goes well, and I'm sure it will. So anyway, we'll talk a little bit about the tax credit scholarship program, and really we're taking kind of a not a legislative twist on it, but the twist of the looking at donations and some creative ways that some people have come together to raise money for individuals who don't live in their area who would benefit from the tax credit scholarship program. So we'll talk about that here in a second. And then secondly, we'll be reviewing a video that came out recently. I think it was put up by the Illinois Right to Life, and it calls attention to the Reproductive Health Care Act that passed a couple years ago and some of the provisions in there. And one of the individuals who's in that video, her name is Sarah Michalak, and she made some interesting comments about what abortion does to a woman and what happens after that procedure, and kind of a different take on the issue. And I thought it'd be interesting to hear Sarah talk a little bit more about that. She's with Students for Life. It'll be probably about 8:30 or so, give or take a couple minutes, where we'll bring in that topic. But first, let's go to our first topic here on the show this morning. And with us I think we have three guests. Let's do two. The first one I know, Father Wayne Watts, who is well-traveled, a Marquette alum. We have that in common. He is at, where are you now, St. Joseph's or St. Francis Xavier? I can't remember.
Guess what? We're both.
Both. Okay.
It's all one name, St. Joseph and Francis Xavier. We're all one parish, happily united.
And I was just joking the other day about this, trying to learn the new parish names and where they are, right. And it'll take you and I a lifetime to figure them all out. So, okay, there's one more down. So when you don't know, just assume that they're both. And also with us, we have Chris Vallis. Am I pronouncing your name correctly, Chris? Chris is involved with this program where we talk about his efforts to raise money at St. Joseph and St. Francis Xavier. Is that how we have to pronounce these times?
Saints JFX.
Saints JFX
is a little easier, Bob.
I like that. Yeah, let's go with the letters. Anyway, before I continue to botch this, Chris, thanks for joining us here this morning. Welcome to our program. And Chris, why don't we just start with you? It sounds like you have something to do with this effort. Why don't you describe to us what you guys are trying to do?
Good thing. And first off, thanks for for the time and for helping us increase awareness, which is one of the biggest objectives.
That's what we're doing.
In terms of the tax credit scholarship program. But we've, maybe just in terms of our family's involvement, since the act was passed in 2017, initially we were, participated as being donors, just because it's such a phenomenal program and the multiplier effect and the bang for your buck as a donor. And then more recently, about a year ago, I joined the board of Empower Illinois, which is sort of the largest SGO, or scholarship granting organization. And it's really, think of them as sort of the hub or the portal, within the overall tax credit scholarship program, doing everything from advancing legislative efforts to improving the legislation. So Bob, to your point about trying to make this a permanent program, that's something that Empower Illinois is very interested in. And the other issue beyond trying to get this to be a permanent program strategically is just, our demand far outstrips the supply for this, right? So we're in 21, we were able to meet about slightly over 20% of the qualified applicants that were, in the queue, if you will, for the scholarship. So to that point, awareness, right? We need to create more awareness about this program, which is so phenomenal. So that really helps spawn what I call the Sharing Our Gifts pilot program that we started with Saints JFX as sort of the primary parish that is going to be the lead donor group, if you will. And then the recipient, the targeted recipient in this case would be St. Thomas of Canterbury School, which has been the sharing needy parish, if you will, for Saints JFX going back 35 years. And Father Watts can fill us in a bit on that history. So the focus really was, we've got over 135 kids, plus or minus, on the wait list to get a scholarships at St. Thomas of Canterbury School, which is roughly an $800,000 scholarship need, if you will. 100% of the students at St. Thomas of Canterbury are on scholarship and financial assistance, just given the makeup of that parish in uptown Chicago. And Father Wayne really came up with the idea, which was, hey, we've met the need at Saints JFX for the folks that were on the scholarship queue here. Why don't we expand our community to St. Thomas of Canterbury and embrace them and try to pool our resources to fund that $800,000 need they have for those 135 kids that are on the wait list. So that was really the genesis of the idea. And I think to take it a next step, and working with Empower, it was, okay, let's try this. This will be the pilot program. And if this works, this could be a great way to help us scale and create more awareness around the Archdiocese of Chicago and elsewhere.
It's a great idea. As you indicated, Chris, we've done so many of these legislative briefings, but most times we go over the number of scholarships that students in a legislative district have received, and then the waiting list. And it's pretty much standard. There's a couple outliers, but it's usually about 3 to 1. For every scholarship that has been granted, there's 3 kids waiting in line. So we use that as the argument on why this program should be extended. We have a huge demand for the program. We can't meet it right now. We need to raise more money to help meet that demand, but we also need to continue it so we can do that. So it's kind of one of those sort of blessings in disguise, maybe, that God willing, someday we'll be able to meet that demand. And I think what you're trying to do is a great first step in trying to target resources to those who need it most. Father Wayne, this is a great idea. Is the Thomas of Canterbury, did they approach you? Did you approach them? How did you get that relationship?
Actually, St. Francis originally, and now Saints Joseph and Francis Xavier, has had a relationship, as Chris mentioned, with St. Thomas. We help in their food pantry. We help in their clothing room. We help in their soup kitchen. We tutor in their school. We have a very robust relationship with this sharing parish of ours. And so when I knew our need was met, and I must say, I also knew that the need of my former parish St. John Birchman's was Matt. I said, let's expand this. It's such a great program.
Yep.
We really should connect because we have a relationship and everything is about relationships. I think we have a relationship with St. Thomas and the principal there, Christine Boyd, who's awesome and really cares about her students.
She does.
So I called her. I said, I think she thought it was too good to be true when I told her this was our plan, because we take a collection once a month for tuition assistance at St. Thomas, a second collection. But this is like 50 times what we collect.
Sure.
This goal we have, and really what we want to do, and Chris kind of mentioned it, if this works, and Chris will probably tell you the details, it's working. If this works and we fund all the students who need a scholarship, we can go to other parishes that have sharing parishes themselves, that have schools, and say, this was so easy. We started on Pentecost Sunday, and we're going to be fully funded before the end of the liturgical year.
I think most people know. If they don't, it's worth pointing out that the what we're calling JFX is in Wilmette, Winnetka, that area. So it's an affluent area, and most people there have the means to donate. I think I would imagine one of your biggest challenges is how to walk people through the process, which is, we all know, cumbersome. Yeah, it's difficult.
Right. Yeah, I think, Bob, to that point, that's really where Empower Illinois comes in addition to, the work of Father Wayne Watts and the rest of the staff at St. JFX. Empower and their staff really act as sort of the utility player to help people walk through that process if they're doing it for the first time. Because if you're doing it for the first time, there is a little bit of paperwork and an admin involved. But once you do it once, you're kind of set up in the system, and it facilitates it so much for future donations. And so Empower has been tremendous, but in particular, we've got, a point person on staff that is walking through donors, the process literally on the phone and on their computers, and making what could be a 30 to 45 minute process down to 10 minutes to sort of codify everything. And that's been a huge sort of oil in the system, if you will. But I think to your point, one of the biggest objectives in all of this, in creating more awareness, is going to help us get permanence in the legislation, right? And the way we get permanence in the legislation is for every individual to be reaching out to their local legislator and say, this is too important to not have this, to not be permanent. And the permanence is so important because the families and the schools, they need to know that they can rely on this going forward. Right? It's going to help a donor to sort of go through that first time. They feel like, hey, the next 5 or 10 years, I can continue to do this. And the same things for the schools, as they have to figure out and plan where their financial assistance is coming from. Absolutely. Knowing that this will be here, for an extended period of time helps, their planning. So all of this is like a puzzle that sort of goes together. But at the end of the day, it's about expanding awareness. And the great thing about this pilot program is we're, on the threshold of crossing our $800,000 target here. Is 80% of the donors in this program thus far have been first-time donors.
That's fantastic. That's great.
It's just getting the word out and telling people it can be done. It's not too good to be true. And to really convince the other schools. Christine ultimately was convinced that we could do this. But there are a lot of schools out there that I have contact with that say, oh, we're not sure it's going to stick around, so we're not really promoting it that much. Right. I think we all have to promote it. We have to tell people how easy it is.
I was going to, they want us to take a quick break here, and we're going to do that. And when we do, I'm going to ask the guys in the production. I know Empower has a video. They have some information on their website about how to donate. Maybe we can run that through the screen here for a second. And before we take that break, I'll make the point, or just echo that point that Chris and Father Wayne made, is that the first 5 years, an EduDo program is difficult. And I think one of the apprehensions some donors have had is this real? Is this going to be around much longer? We've had political attacks from some legislators who wanted to kill a program early on. We survived that. we all know what happened when the governor made some comments about wanting to change it a couple years ago. We survived that. We were able last year to extend the program another year. I think this year is a big landmark year in terms of if we can get over this next hurdle and make this program permanent, give it some sort of stability in the law, I think then some donors will say, okay, this is around for at least another 10 years, whatever. I feel comfortable it's going to be around, et cetera. Let's take a quick break. Let's come back, and we'll talk more about the how to donate and make sure people are comfortable with that. This is Bob Gilligan with the Catholic Conference of Illinois talking about the tax credit program and what we can do to continue its existence forever. Don't go away. We're right back.
Catholic Charities has had the privilege of helping people in need in Cook and Lake County for more than 100 years. We would like to take this opportunity to thank our frontline workers who, despite the unprecedented challenges of the past 2 years, continue to excel at their jobs every day. From the warehouse staff members who pack boxes of nutritious foods for low-income seniors, to the dedicated WIC employees who have remained open for families with children under the age of 5, to our volunteers and restaurant partners who ensure that meals are available for those experiencing hunger, to our service coordinators and our professional counselors who continue their vital work in innovative ways, to our food pantry staff, and to all those who work at Catholic Charities Call Center, finding solutions for every person who reaches out to us for help. Charity is at the heart of all you do, and we salute you.
Always say, how can you spend your day with 3-year-olds? Seeing the changes that they go through and just the journey and how they grow, this is a very rewarding job. Even though at the end of the day, we're not the highest paid people on earth. And when I have a parent contact me and say, my child loves school, that to me, I'm setting that foundation for their love of learning, because really you are changing lives, you are molding lives.
Shape the next generation of leaders. Teach. Apply today at archchicago.org/schooljobs.
Catholic Charities Refugee Resettlement Program has been especially busy this year, assisting individuals and families who have fled dangerous situations in their homeland, including Afghanistan and the Ukraine. The Refugee Resettlement Team helps with everything they need to start to rebuild their lives in a new country, including housing, employment, clothing, food, English classes, and referrals for legal and immigration services. The refugees are tremendously grateful for the compassion and practical help they're receiving, and they're giving back and helping each other plan for a brighter, safer future. Volunteer opportunities are currently available for those who would like to be family mentors and tutors so children and adults can practice English. To learn more about these rewarding opportunities, call 312-655-7096. That's 312-655-7096.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Bob Gilligan of the Catholic Conference of Illinois talking about the Scholarship Tax Credit Program, or Tax Credit Scholarship Program. We say these terms interchangeably. We're talking with Chris Valance and Father Wayne Wallace, who have embarked on a very creative and successful program here to raise a lot of money for the Tax Credit Scholarship Program, and to do it in areas where kids really need it. Kids need it and everywhere, but I think the geographic area that they're talking about here, St. Thomas of Canterbury, is particularly in need. As I think Father Wayne said, I think 100% of the kids would qualify who go to that school. Can you, either of you, talk a little bit about some of the marketing steps you took to make people more? You're embarking on raising $800,000. That's a substantive sum of money to raise, even with the tax credit scholarship. You must have had a steady drumbeat of messages from the parish or outreach, and I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about what you did specifically to engage potential donors that maybe we could learn from in other areas.
So maybe I'll just say it was a kind of a twofold effort. There was a behind-the-scenes effort to get a match pool, and Chris can talk about that. And then we announced it on Pentecost Sunday, the Sharing Our Gifts campaign at all the masses. But Chris, maybe talk about getting that match pool. I think that was impressive.
Sure thing. As we talked about before, right, this program has two huge benefits for donors, right? One is just the financial bang for your buck, right? For every $4 that you're putting in, your net cost is $1, right? It's a 4 times multiplier effect in terms of the bang for your buck. And then obviously in this economic environment, trying to figure out how to stretch your dollars is increasingly important. So what we figured out is, hey, let's take this 4x multiplier effect and let's make it even more attractive. So we had an $800,000 target. We said, all right, let's get a match pool of $400,000. Right? We really want to increase awareness. We're going to make this so attractive for donors that it's going to be hard not to give. So what we did,
it was actually 600 originally. Then we had 200 more added.
Wow.
Remember?
Yeah, as we started the program, the need was 100 kids, and then the wait list grew to 135. So a $600,000 target all of a sudden became an $800,000 target. So the thought was we create a match pool of half of our target. So for the remainder amount, that other 50% that we had to fill, the pitch was pretty simple. It was, hey, for every dollar you put in, it'll be matched 1 for 1. So all of a sudden, the 4x multiplier goes to an 8x multiplier for a new donor, if you will.
Yeah.
That much more attractive, that much more leverage for your net cost. And that was, from a marketing standpoint, that got everyone's attention, I would say. And what we did, Father Wayne, myself, and Empower Illinois, we worked on that match pool initially with folks we knew had interest in the program and have been leaders in the parish in the past. And that helped us sort of codify that $400,000 match pool. And then we went out to the broader parish and we talked about how 50% of it was effectively raised and ready to be matched. And your 4x multiplier becomes an 8x multiplier. So in round numbers, for $750 of a net cost to you, right, times that by 8 times, that's $6,000. That's one child's tuition for the full year at St. Thomas of Canterbury, $650 net cost to you. And that really helped us make people want to learn more about this program.
That's a great idea. And I take it that I think you said you're going to fund all those scholarships at St. Thomas of Canterbury?
That's our goal.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's amazing.
And we're 90% plus of our target right now and active dialogue.
You're going to do it.
To have that closed out within a month or so.
You're going to do it. And so I would imagine, Father Wayne, are you going to try to spread this word to the other pastors? Is that the way that we can do this? Because there's a number of sharing parishes in this area.
I think that's right. You know, I think thanks to the Chicago Catholic, they wrote an article and a couple of people have reached out to me, parishioners and pastors themselves. In fact, on the course of the weekend, I got a correspondence from one of the private girls' high schools in the city they're also looking for ways to get the word out. Great. But I'm going to share it with my friends who have sharing parishes. So my pastor friends, I think we have like a whole packet of what we did and how we did it. And it was not that hard, really.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I think this is trying to provide like the blueprint for others to use it. And Father Watts and Empower Illinois are going to help us take that blueprint and share it with other parishes to sort of do the same things. And we have lessons learned, right? We didn't do everything correctly, but I think it started off really for us when Father Wayne talked about the target, which was a big number. He just said, please just go meet Principal Christine Boyd. So I did that, and I was skeptical going in. When I came out, we had no choice. We had to do it. The benefits of the program were visible with one tour of the school and meeting a couple of students that have graduated and have gone on to phenomenal things and are also giving back to their local grade school today.
Yeah. I'm excited about this because I do think there's some juice here. I think we could take this and move this through some other parts of the city and the state for that matter. And, I think off the top of our heads, we could identify some of those areas already. One of the things that just FYI that we're working on with Empower is to try to, and, I don't want to say this is going to be a panacea or a cure-all, but is to do a little bit of a video to try to increase awareness of the program. Some of the other bishops throughout the state are pretty excited about that. And also then take that and reference some more specific materials about how to donate. That seems to be a big barrier for the program. We recognize that. And it's not a barrier that can't be overcome. It can be. It's just, I think, as Chris, you said, it's a little daunting at first. You have to, anytime you're talking about the Department of Revenue and taxes, some people sort of glaze over. You got to get them back up, walk them through it, and then it's not so bad. Because come April, when you get your taxes back, you're going to really like this. You're going to really like giving to this program. And so anyway, so we're talking about that. We haven't quite worked out all the details, so hopefully that will help. And, maybe we should think about, could we encapsulate, this program a little bit to market that a little bit and get that word out because I'm excited about the opportunities here. I really am cautiously optimistic that we're going to be able to get this legislation passed. We're going to get another extension of this program. And then, I think the challenge for all of us is how do we get that to that $100 million cap? And once we hit the $100 million cap, we come back to the legislature and say, look, now we need to expand this further because it's just a matter of marketing, getting the word out, and getting more donors comfortable with how to do it. The demand is there. It's just what we have to increase is the supply.
So I'm going to let you guys finish up. Chris, sorry, I have mass in 2 minutes.
We're going to jump here first, but I'm going to give the final word to Chris.
Yeah, I'd say thanks, Father Wayne. Since inception, 2018, over 37,000 scholarships have been granted to this program. So in terms of getting the word out, we get the donors, we know there's so much demand. And the more kids that are on scholarships, the more difficult it's going to be not to extend it, not to make it permanent from a political perspective. Yep. So the best way to help is to donate and get more kids on scholarships because more families are then going to demand from their legislators that this stays a permanent policy.
You got it. Chris, thanks so much. God bless you. Great to see that you're part of the Empower board, I think you said, and look forward to working with you and others on this exciting program to not only get this program extended in law, but also to increase the donations to it. And also thanks to Father Wayne who had to jump. Mass is more important than a radio show. Don't go away, everybody. We'll be right back. We're going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to be talking with Sarah Mitchgleck and talk a little bit about some of the comments, some of the issues that are going on with the Illinois Reproductive Healthcare Act. We'll be right back.
At Catholic Charities, we want to remind you that we are here for anyone who is a victim of domestic violence or anyone who has a concern about someone they think may be a victim. Domestic violence affects millions of people each year, both women and men, of every race, religion, culture, and economic status. It includes physical, psychological, and emotional abuse, inflicted in both subtle and overt ways. The impact on children can be devastating. If you or someone you know are victims of domestic violence and you are looking for a place for healing and recovery, call us at 773-935-3434 in Cook County and 224-430-4977 in Lake County. A safer, happier tomorrow can begin today.
I am a seminarian.
The church needs compassionate and well-trained priests to help guide each of us through life.
What inspires me, what draws me always to the priesthood is continue to see priests be a beacon of hope for other people.
You can play a part in the education of these young men as they prepare for a life of service to others.
I want to be that beacon of hope too, and it sets my heart on fire.
To support our seminarians, make your gift at archchicago.org/seminarian fund or call 312-534-7959.
The cemetery ministry is a core ministry of our Catholic faith tied to the corporal works of mercy. It's comforting to know that our Catholic cemeteries are caring for the remains of our loved ones awaiting the resurrection. There are 44 Archdiocese of Chicago Catholic cemeteries willing to help you in your time of loss. Call 708-449-6100 or visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org. Catholic Cemeteries, serving the Catholic community since 1837.
You're listening to Catholic Chicago. Ahead, the Archdiocese of Chicago brings you programs about the people, events, and issues that touch our lives. Thanks for letting us be part of your morning. Now again, Catholic Chicago.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Bob Gilligan of the Catholic Conference of Illinois, and thanks for watching and listening to our program here today. Our gratitude goes out to Chris Valance and Father Wayne Watts for talking about the Scholarship Tax Credit Program in the first half of our program. And now we're going to switch gears and talk to Sarah Mahalik. Sarah is with a group called the Students for Life. And she appeared in a very interesting video. We'll talk about that in a second. And regarding the law that passed a couple years ago and some of the impact that it's had on women. That act was called the Reproductive Healthcare Act. Sarah, are you with us? I don't see.
Yes. Hi, Bob. How are you?
Hey, there she is. Sarah, how are you?
Good, good.
You are, I don't know your titles, but I know you're with Students for Life, Illinois. So tell us a little bit about Students for Life and what it is that you do.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm the programs manager for Students for Life of America. And my role is to help ensure that all of our resources, trainings, displays, everything that we use to equip our student leaders on campuses are prepared and created and redesigned. Our team is in charge of our initiatives and programs that our students use to create a culture of life. So it's really awesome.
Yeah, no, it's exciting work. And you're with it's mostly on the universities. Is that correct? The colleges and universities? That's where you do most of your work?
Yeah, so we work with middle school through med and law school. But we do have a lot of college groups, especially because college students are facing the culture of death in a very serious head-on way. And so we noticed that a lot of students find their voice in college.
Yeah, exactly.
And they realize it's so
or
necessary.
lose their voice. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we've had, since Roe v. Wade has been reversed, we've had a lot of student leaders who have faced a lot of discrimination and a lot of efforts to chill their speech on campus, whether it's through intimidation or efforts to cancel their groups, calling them racist. I mean, literally, we had a group have a student throw urine at them. So yeah, our students are definitely facing a lot of controversy and pushback, but I've just been really encouraged by our student leaders not stepping back from their fight, because they know that if they stop talking and the preborn are left without the support they need.
Sarah, I don't know. It's been a long time since I've been in college, and I'm really kind of out of touch with, that university life or college life as I experienced it, going away to school and things like that. What is the culture like for, somebody who is let's say self-avowed pro-life person who cares about the unborn? Are they in their classroom life? Let's say if they're not an engineer or an architect or in the natural sciences, what is their life like? Is there a climate conducive to their being able to openly say something that they believe that a life begins at conception and ends at natural death, or are they sort of looked upon as sort of a fringe element now, or does it depend where you go, I suppose? But I don't know, let's say Loyola, DePaul, or University of Illinois. Can you kind of generalize, or am I just being too vague?
Well, it does depend on where you go. And I will say that sometimes it's on like Catholic campuses where it's actually the hardest to talk about it, because there's almost this like stigma about being talking too much about one life issue. And so a lot of the students are kind of told to, oh, you should be focusing on all social justice issues.
Sure.
And so there is kind of a quieting there. And I went to St. Xavier University, and I was fortunate. I had professors who were open to me spouting off in class whenever I felt like it. But I will say a lot of students don't feel like they can do that. So if a professor is standing up there talking about abortion and is very openly pro-choice or openly, liberal or even communist, a student isn't going to want to take their hands in their grade in their hands and just stand up against their professor. Especially because, obviously there's that intimidation of a professor who has a PhD, and you feel like you're the only
18, 19-year-old.
campus.
Absolutely. Yeah. I wouldn't stand up to a professor when I was 18 or 19 either. There's no way. That's a good point about in a Catholic university about hearing about the full range of Catholic social thought as it pertains to life and needs of people and what we need to be the people we are, because that is important. It's very important. Absolutely. That we also defend when it comes to policies that pertain to those in poverty or immigrants, that kind of thing, that we stand up for them too. It does seem sometimes, though, when you would say you agree with that obligation and you're also protecting the unborn, it seems like some people, that's where they go south on you at a college campus. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's a lot of agreement, but there's also, when it comes to the unborn, that's when I think you see the real, it's a tough issue. It's very polarizing. It's unfortunate that on a Catholic campus you would hear that, but I hear those stories too.
Yeah, I mean, it is the preeminent life issue according to our own Catholic Conference of Bishops. And so it is, if you have a student leader who has a heart for the preborn, that doesn't take away from having a heart for immigrants or having a heart for mothers who need support, or having, it's like there's so many issues that we should care about. But I think the difficulty is that this is the only issue. Well, and there are other issues like euthanasia that are growing in this area.
Yeah, unfortunately,
have the legal backing of so many states. And that's where the difficulty is. But yeah, I mean, I think students, they find their voice, and then they find a group of fellow like-minded people on campus. And that's really where a community grows. So I just encourage people to stand up for the preborn, because that's really where you find your closest friends. You build a community of people. It's difficult. But I mean, I know a lot of people. I met my husband that way.
Oh, there you go.
A lot of people meet their husbands and their spouses that way too. So
it's worth it. There's one success story for you. So are you on every college campus then in Illinois, or is it just depending on where you can get a concentration of people? Do you have a presence in all of them?
We have a presence on about 80 campuses throughout Illinois and Iowa.
That's a lot.
Yeah, definitely. And we work with any student group who wants to work with us. Everything we offer is free to students. There's no membership to Students for Life that's required. We just want to support them in their efforts to build up a culture of life and to talk to their peers about abortion and chastity and euthanasia. And so, yeah, we're on a lot of campuses. We're not on all of them, but that's our goal, to be on as many as we can be.
So let's talk a little bit about this video that surfaced a couple weeks ago. I think it's put out by Illinois Right to Life, and you appeared in it with some others. And we'll try to tee up your portion of it here in a second. I think your comments were really interesting in that you said something I think that I wish more people talked about. You made reference to what you could say this more articulately than I will ever be able to, but I think your point was, an abortion happens, and then that woman goes home, and then she just kind of moves on with her life or not, and what are we really doing there? That is a very significant event in somebody's life, and I think what you were positing is that wouldn't it be better if we really dealt with the whole picture of this person? What is leading them to this situation? What is lacking in their life? What could we do to help this person? Even if they had the abortion, what could we do to, I think as the Pope says, better than accompany that person in their journey, as opposed to just focusing on this one procedure that seems to get all the attention, and then everything else is sort of, no one talks about anything else. I think that was your roundabout point, if I heard you correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our governor wants to make Illinois what he calls a beacon of hope in a land of darkness.
And we do too. Everybody agrees with that, right? That title.
But the irony really is that there is no hope in an abortion. I mean, really what we are telling women is that you cannot be a mom and deal with whatever difficulty you have. You cannot go pursue your education and be a mom. You can't have 4 kids. You can only have 3 because you can't handle any more. Hope is supposed to be the faith in things not yet, brought to fruition, not to be in despair. It's the opposite of hope, actually. And so abortion is offering women the ending of the life of her innocent preborn human child, and then sending her right back into whatever circumstance brought her to that abortion facility in the first place. That's not getting to the root of whatever she's dealing with. And so we're not offering women hope by putting abortion facilities on every border state. We're not offering women hope by funding abortions through the Reproductive Health Act, through our insurances. We're not doing that. All we are offering women is a quick fix that stays with them for the rest of their lives and ends an innocent human life. That with that life comes new opportunity, new hope, new life, new love. And so it is really really sad, I think, that we're willing to put so much money, so much effort, so much time into abortion in the state of Illinois, when we could be putting all of that money, effort, and energy into actually authentically supporting women so that they actually experience the hope that our governor is saying he wants Illinois to be promulgating for our families.
There you go. Why don't you run? That's it. You got it. No, I think a lot of us right now, we're inundated with these commercials. And for some of us who don't agree with that, it's very difficult to sit through these things time and time again and listen to these pejorative blanket reproductive rights, reproductive health care, and there's no reproducing going on in what you're trying to do. And it's just very frustrating for a lot of us to sit through this and listen to this time and time again. And what you said so articulately is that's the point. We want to try to offer people hope, and we're more than this. We're more than this. Yeah. Sarah, if you could just hold on a second. We want to take a quick break here, and we come back. Maybe we can tee up that portion of the commercial or the air, whatever it's called. I'm not sure what it is. Something. Where you're on camera talking about this. This is Bob Gilligan with the Catholic Conference of Illinois. Don't go away. We're right back.
Do you have an old bicycle that's not being used? Consider donating it to Catholic Charities Veterans Bike Project of Lake County. Skilled volunteers are refurbishing bicycles to make them safe and ready to be used by veterans to get to and from their new places of work. We also gratefully accept financial contributions that are used to purchase bike helmets and other safety accessories. Our veterans have faithfully served the United States, and now it is our privilege to serve them. For more information on the Veterans Bike Project of Lake County, call 847-782-4219. That's 847-782-4219.
Welcome back.
Es fabuloso verlos.
Dobrze jest znowu być razem.
It's good to be together again.
After so many months apart, pandemic capacity limits have been lifted, and we want to welcome everyone back to church. We can all pray together again. And listen as our choirs lift their voices in song.
We've been together in spirit.
And now, when you are ready, our doors are open wide.
Nuestras puertas están abiertas de par en par.
Nasze drzwi są otwarte.
And we're here to welcome you back to Catholic Mass.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Bob Gilligan of the Catholic Conference of Illinois. Thank you for listening, watching our program. We're talking with Sarah Mahalik from Students for Life, and we were talking about this video before the break, and I think we have your segment, or most of the segments.
Our governor has made it very clear that he wants to make Illinois the abortion capital of the Midwest in the name of women's rights, which is ironic because he's neither a woman nor does he speak for all Illinois women. To say that Illinois is a location of empowerment because we're putting mega abortion facilities at every border is, again, assuming that abortion is something that gives women what they need. If a woman goes to an abortion facility because she's in an abusive relationship and she's impoverished,
there you go. That was your start. There you go. It was interesting seeing you there. So it seems to be that you were with child at the time of that video.
Yes. Yeah, I still am.
You still are? Okay. So you not have had the baby yet.
I'm 38 weeks.
Oh my
pregnant,
gosh.
So I have
all right. We should wrap this segment up quickly because you just never know.
2 more weeks.
Yeah. No, we were talking before the break about your message. I think you say that very well in that video, as you said before. That I wish that more people could hear that message. And to be fair, it's not the governor. I think made the comment about the beacon of hope, but the entire General Assembly voted on that bill, and many people voted for that. So that message is directed at all those people that helped pass that law. And the other part of that video that we didn't seem to have is there was a lot in that bill that also hurt women. I think, I don't know if it's your segment or somebody else goes on to talk about the inspections that now are not being completed at state facilities because of that law. And so people need to know these things that there's not regulated as much as they used to be. We talk about being, pro-women. I would think that you'd want to be in a facility that had some oversight by the state in terms of, basic cleanliness and things like that go on.
Yeah, I mean, the Reproductive Health Act, it basically enshrined Roe v. Wade as Illinois state law and Doe versus Bolton as Illinois state law. And what that means is that a woman in the state of Illinois has the complete and total right to an abortion in all 9 months of pregnancy. And that means also that the preborn have no rights. That's what that law stipulated. So a baby who is 5 minutes from leaving the birth canal has 0 rights in the state of Illinois, which is actually why that law also repealed the Partial Birth Abortion Act. It doesn't stipulate that a physician needs to be present in the case of a late-term abortion for the preborn child who may survive, because at that point the baby is viable outside of the womb. It also affected the definition of viability, but it removed requirements for coroners to look into deaths of women from abortion facilities. I mean, one of the things you brought up was all these political ads, and they're all saying things like the pro-life candidate is so extreme because they don't want exceptions for the preborn, for abortions. But there's nothing more extreme than having the same exact laws as North Korea and China on the abortion issue. I mean, abortion all 9 months is something that most Americans don't agree with. A preborn human being can feel pain as early as 12 weeks in the womb. So our abortion laws go far beyond that. And that's just something that's that's extreme.
Yeah.
And I don't know why no one is running that political ad, actually. Is like, that's an extreme position on abortion, and one that's been foisted on the Illinois people. And in fact, the Reproductive Health Act, when it was first brought forward, we, pro-life people of good conscience in the state of Illinois came to the state capitol and shut down the state capitol, literally, not violently, but there was just so many of us there that they couldn't let anyone else in. And so they had to actually squeak this in over, I believe it was Labor Day weekend or Memorial Day weekend.
Memorial Day. Yep.
Yeah, it was Memorial Day weekend. That law had no movement at all because there were so many people upset about it, and they came in the last hour and passed the Reproductive Health Act. So I wouldn't say that that was something that even was widely accepted by most Illinois citizens. And it's just an injustice against women and the preborn. Because if a woman who has an abortion dies in an abortion facility, how is that bettering women's reproductive health by not having a coroner look into it? That just doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. And you bring up a good point about that whole, it's funny, I'd forgotten a lot of those provisions. I mean, I lived that years ago, and you kind of do memory dump when these things are over. And you're right, when you were going through, when you're ticking off those list of provisions in that bill, it is quite alarming what that bill all in total did. And, we live with that. And now to, once again, see all these commercials, and it's just a guise of how do we protect reproductive health care rights. It's, there's that saying about, lies and deceiving. And that's kind of what it is. It is what it is. And, I don't know what it takes to wake people up. Unfortunately, there are not the resources or the money behind a campaign that could counter all of this right now.
Right.
I just hope and pray that you and I live long enough to see that. And I was talking to somebody the other day in a meeting. I was with a bunch of hospital people, and somebody had said, you think like someday when we're long gone, people are going to look back on this and say like, wow, they thought it was perfectly acceptable to eliminate an unborn child. And look at what we know, because you can see it and everything, yet they decided not to protect that unborn life. Like we look back now on certain things, say like, how could people think that way? But we are, right. And, I don't know. So this is what the fight's about. This is why we continue to do what we do and continue to talk about it and try to make people more aware of it and do the best we can with the resources we're given, and pray that someday we'll have more resources and change heart and minds.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, one of the reasons why the pro-life movement has grown so much among young people, they did it might have been a BBC poll actually, where they found that young people, they consider themselves to be a part of the major human rights movement of their day. Like that's why they're fighting for the preborn. And that's true. Like we're abolitionists. We are standing up for the disenfranchised of our time, as generations of abolitionists and human rights activists have done in the past. And so, yes, I think we will look back on, the past, and they'll say, you could see a heartbeat at 6 weeks.
Yeah, what are they thinking? Right.
I mean, 96% of biologists said human life begins at fertilization.
Yeah.
What were they thinking?
To our point, though, one ray of sunshine that I have heard recently in some of the debates that have been going on, there has been encounters on this topic, and I've heard some candidates now pushing back, as you just did, on the extremist nature of what some people are espousing. And so, and I do think that is resonating with people as they follow debates. We're not going to have that here in Illinois. We don't have a close senatorial debates, but in some other states, you're starting to hear that. And I think that's good, because I think that is a clear message. And I think when people hear the truth and when they're focused and it's fair and they hear the truth, I think they will decide accordingly. I feel that. I know that. The problem is right now in the state we live in, there's just so much on the other side. It's difficult to get our message out. So that's what we're at. Sarah, thanks so much for taking some time today. Congratulations. You're almost there. So do you know, is a boy or girl, or are we going to be surprised on the big day?
We're going to be surprised on the big day.
Good.
So,
Good. That's
so close to finding out.
Yeah. You're literally any week now, so you'll have a fall birthday. I'm sure. I think, right? It'll be sometime in the fall.
Oh yeah.
Great.
Yeah, definitely. Next
Great.
2 weeks.
Thanks for your work that you do. It's very important being there amongst the younger people, and heck, you could blend right in. You're young enough to be in college, so that's kind of I think I've passed that threshold, unfortunately. Sarah, thanks for taking some time this morning and joining us. Great work on that video.
Awesome. Thank you, Bob. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you. And thanks to our guests that appeared previously about tax credit scholarship. We got a minute, so I should also urge people to go out and vote on November 8th. Big election coming up. We all have seen the ads. We know who's running for governor in the major races. Go out, though, and educate yourself on who the best candidate could be for your state senator and your state representative. Every member of the General Assembly is up for re-election this year. This is the first year in the new 10-year cycle that they're on, so every state senator and every state representative are up for re-election. We urge you to form and inform your conscience according to Catholic social thinking, and to vote accordingly. Important election, not only at the local level, but everywhere. Throughout the entire country. As I alluded to, there's some really important Senate races going on in swing states. Also, the entire House of Representatives is also up for re-election. So lot going on here. And then what's going to happen here in Illinois, once we're done with this in November, on November 8th, we'll take about, a couple days. We'll do Thanksgiving, have Christmas, and then we'll go back into the mayoral election, which will be in February. So it never seems to end. So thanks for everybody for watching. Thank you for listening. This is Bob Gilligan of the Catholic Conference of Illinois. We will be back on the third Monday in the month of November. Wow, speaking of Thanksgiving, we're almost there. Thanks for listening. Have a good week, everybody. Take care.